Namaste, Shalom, Salam, everybody. This is Hayat, Mother Sofia. Now today I am going to talk about Ayahuasca. Now there seems to be more and more people doing Ayahuasca and more questions. So I started my journey with Ayahuasca in 2015, and that was the first time I did it. And from then on, my Ayahuasca was really about a calling. It was about me working almost immediately as a light worker, as an ancient Egyptian soul. Now I'm making this video because there are different levels of working with Ayahuasca, and that doesn't mean that one is better than the other, because we are all part of the tapestry of this beautiful planet. And historically, a lot has been taken from us as divine beings. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about my very first journey. Now, most people do Ayahuasca because they need healing. Now, I believe that I had healed and didn't need any healing. I'd been to a healer previously, and basically the reason why I did Ayahuasca was because a friend of mine did it. And after his experience, when he came to see me, he said he saw me on his journey, and I had told him that I was the planet of information, healing and wisdom. And he said on his Ayahuasca, he saw my Facebook profile showing me as an actress, because I used to be an actress and still am very much in the public eye, but now as a spiritual guru. So he saw me, my Facebook profile, and I kept saying, that's not her, she's the planet of information, wisdom and healing. Anyway, he told me that, and that sparked my curiosity. So I booked in the same place and did Ayahuasca, and 30 minutes before I did the Ayahuasca, my father died. Now, I haven't had any communication with him for 15 years. We fell out. Or rather I stopped communication because there were some things that he did that I didn't agree with, which most people would see as wrong. And I always thought that when his children from his new family were old enough that we would then come together as a family. That didn't happen, but anyway, he died. I got the message half an hour before ceremony. I went into shock. And the organizer said, would you like to go home? And I said, no. I knew straight away that I was going to meet my father. So I stayed at the retreat, and it was a 3-day retreat with Ayahuasca. There was a long process of learning, or it sounds like a long process of learning, but on all 3 days I crossed over straight away. I didn't purge. I've never purged. I'm not meant to purge because I annihilate this. And basically what happened, I met my father, but before I was allowed to meet him, I had to learn patience, because that's one of my weak points. I had to learn patience. And so Aya taught me patience. Aya taught me patience. So what happened, it's not a simple process. I understood, it's not anybody telling me. I understood that in order to meet my father, I had to let go of everything that was human. And eventually, through my higher self, through my understanding, which was breaking through, I understood I had to let go of even wanting to see my father. And that the place I was going to go to see him, I had to not want anything, need anything, feel anything, not even feel my muscles as a human being. So every single muscle in my body finally relaxed, and I believe it just literally let go of everything. I could feel it all letting go of any feeling, any contraction. Everything completely relaxed. My breathing became very, very shallow, to the point that if you stood next to me, you probably would have thought I was dead. And I had to let go of the pain of his death. And I remember I was almost like I was waiting to go to this place where I could meet my dad, and that place had nothing in it, by the way, because it's nothingness. That's where I could meet him. And I remember it was like I was waiting, and my mind was strong, or no mind was involved, and I was letting go of everything, and then occasionally I would go, and that was my sadness for my father's death. It's like, no, you can't have that emotion here if you want to go through. So I let go of it, and finally I met my dad, and we were talking to each other through me. So in my ayahuasca journey, in the room, I was physically speaking, and everybody heard what I was saying. And I was saying, Daddy, where are you? He said, I'm here. I'm always in your heart. The next thing, he became a star. I saw his face, he became a star, and I saw where he landed as a star. And then on day 3, what happened was my father actually took over my body and started to speak through me and addressed the room and said, basically I was like this, I looked up, my eyes were closed, and I said, I am Hayat, the father of Sofia Hayat, born on 6th of December 74. I am her father. I have done wrong, Sofia can clear that. So it was beautiful, I've met my father like I could never met him. The thing is, after that, the gift of channeling was open to me, so now I can basically call any soul and ask them and allow them to sit in my body and use my body to communicate. And that happened after that day. I had no training, no initiation, if you want to call it that. I believe it's a past life gift that woke up. And another point, Mary spoke through me saying, I am Mary, my son is Jesus of Nazareth, born of God. My family are finally here. Now, Sofia Hayat is Mary. That's what I said afterwards. Then there was a lot. There was a point in the journey where I had gone through some portal and I saw the Merkaba. Now, some people said to me, did you see yourself in it? And I didn't. It was just the Merkaba. And at that point, I think my legs and arms were flying, and as soon as I saw it, I went, every function in my body stopped at that moment. And I think I saw it 2 or 3 times. There was another point where I purged about this much. It's the only time I ever purged on ayahuasca. And I literally got up at one point, I was leaning against the wall, I was just like this. And then all of a sudden I just went, Aah! And it was like something else that was part of me, around me, in me, protecting me, was warning off anything that was trying to stop whatever process happening. Anyway, I purged this tiny piece, and basically it was a computer chip. It was like somebody had put a computer chip in me and purged that final chip. On day 2, I don't remember getting to this point. So what had basically happened, I thought this was part of my journey. So I had these black things on my eyes. The shaman took them off, and I looked at him and I said, who are you? Now I thought it was part of my journey rather than actually happening, but it was actually happening. And I said, who are you? And he said, I'm your friend. And I saw 2 other shamans. I said, who were they? And he said, they're your friends. And I looked around the room and I said, where's everybody gone? And they said, well, you were making too much noise. We had to move from somewhere else. And I said, no. But that was actually a fact, although during my journey, I thought it was a journey and it wasn't actually happening. And I just remember I was just looking at them and I was giggling. I was like this pure child spirit, and not even child spirit, because I wasn't even off the body. This is pre-body. And I was saying, I was fascinated by feet. I'm like, look at your tootsies, you've got tootsies. They gave you tootsies. And when I said, they gave you this, they gave you that, it was like, okay, oh my goodness, they gave you tootsies, they're amazing. This is pre-human. And then at one point, the shaman said, Sofia, you should drink some water. And I said, should I? And they're like, yes, drink some water. So they gave me a bottle, I drank the water, and immediately there was like a massive change in my energy. I threw the water on the floor and I turned from this childlike spirit into a mother, and I said, how dare you give me water with fluoride? And then I stood up in this room and I remember seeing my shadow on the ceiling like a goddess. And I said, they have messed with my planet and the waters, how dare they? And at that point I started doing this crazy sacred breathing. Something like that. And then I saw planet Earth. And I said, there she is. And I literally took her in my arms and I did all this breathing, and then I said, she is back to what she once was. And then I sat on the floor and became this child again. It was almost like the humor allowed me to do the work I was meant to do. That was like the very first journeys. I also walked around everybody's beds where everybody was lying and saying, telling them stuff. Like, you're here for this is what you're doing, you need to do this, we haven't figured out what your purpose is right now. So, that was happening. But in order for me to get to those levels, there were tests. The energies, the protectors were trying to figure out if I was the one, her, she, who they thought I was. So there were various tests. And the shaman himself presented himself to me in my journey completely naked, and he was in front of me. And all of a sudden my root chakra went. And I said, no, I'm not here for this. Later on, I was turning into a bird, so it's almost like I was given the opportunity to play, to do what I wanted, and again, I said, no, I'm not here for this. I stopped the process, because then I would have been in that experience, because I knew I wasn't there for this. And every time something was trying to give me an experience, I knew my quest wasn't that, and I knew that because the music would fade, and so I'd follow the music. And my quest was to wake up, although I didn't fully wake up. There was an awakening, there was a part of an awakening. Yes, it was a massive awakening. And so, yeah, I think that was it in a nutshell. But what I want to tell you what that experience taught me, I don't think it's important that you don't have sex during ayahuasca. I think it's okay if you do have sex before and after. And what I know now, we're talking 3-4 years later, I understand that there's a number of shamans who are using ayahuasca to steal your sacred energy, because they don't actually come from true light, and the only way they can survive is through your energy. So, if on any of your journeys you are presented with any energies or entities that are firing up your root chakra, don't give away your sexual energy, because it's creator energy. Don't give away your sexual energy, because it's creator energy. Now, after that, I had a number of experiences which was leading me on a path of finding out the truth about Christ, our reality. And I ended up a week later doing a Reiki course at the same place where everybody had Changa. I'd never done it before. As soon as I took the Changa, the DMT, these two ancient Egyptian pillars rolled in and rolled out, and I said, I am your mother. You are my children, I love you so much, I love you so much. And I felt this immense love for everyone, that they were my children. I did it the second time and I said exactly the same thing. And I jumped up and I said, is this real? And everyone said yes, and I didn't quite understand it, but something was going on that was greater than either desire. And then I ended up buying some Changa and I did it on my own. And at that point, the first time I did it, I started talking. The first time I did it, my eyes were being moved. And I was focusing on the pipe where the Changa was, and my eyes were being moved and focused on the Changa. And I said, if you want me to take some more, it was almost like there was somebody behind this body and these eyes, refocusing them so that I could do what I was meant to do. And I focused on the Changa, I took some more, and then the next thing I looked at the trees outside the house, and my eyes again were being refocused to see into a different dimension. And it was full of these blue gods who were looking at me. And they said, Sophia, this earth is for you. What do you want to do with it? we can finish it. And I said, no. I'm talking this, and whatever they're communicating is talking through me. I said, no, I don't want to finish it. I love them so much. And at that point, I just said, end the war, end the war, end the war. And I saw myself as this massive light energy that was making something happen on the physical realms that was stopping some sort of war. And I'm talking, because there's a telepathic communication going on, and I'm talking. Sophia, I'm saying to Sophia, go to your dog. I go to my dog, I get on my knees, I hold his head in my hands, and I look at him, and he turns black. And I said, you know who I am. And then I'm saying, Sophia, go to Egypt, and don't tell anyone that you're going because you've got a big mouth. Oof. So 3 days later, I go to Egypt. I knew nothing about Egypt at the time. I was like, okay, Egypt is Cleopatra, and there's pyramids there, go stay by the pyramids. I went to the pyramids, and a lot happened. My hotel was booked by the pyramids. The first time I went into the small pyramid, I dropped on my knees, this energy hit me, and I was saying, Allahu Akbar Islam, Allahu Akbar Islam. I used to be Muslim, but and I became Catholic, but then this happened, it was something that you can't say I wasn't in control of it, but my higher self knew something. I'm not sure I meant to tell you the whole of the story. Tell them. I'm not sure I meant to tell you the whole of the story, but at one point I went to Karnak. And when I went in to see Sekhmet, in Karnak, I was with my tour guide. I got to one because I knew something was going to happen. I walk in the room, I see Sekhmet, and then I literally started roaring like a lion in front of the tour guide and the guide that looks after that particular temple. I'm doing this. And then I'm back up against the wall and I start speaking this ancient language. It's just coming out. And then the guy who looks after the temple, I found out later he was an ancient priest, stood in front of me and started repeating what I was saying. I walk out, this lasted about 5 minutes, I walk out and I wasn't in shock, it was something I knew, and I was like, okay. And then my tour guide, who was a spiritual tour guide, said, they want to take you somewhere, will you go with them? Yeah. So we walk up to this other room in the temple. There's nothing in there, by the way, it's about 2 meters square with sand in it, nothing else. Tourists don't even go in there because there's nothing in there. As soon as I head to the steps, I start screaming. 2 of these guys are holding my arm, and I'm like, ah. As soon as they pulled me into the room, as soon as I went into the room, I screamed a high-pitched scream like somebody died in there. And I had so much despair, so much sadness. And then that despair and sadness turned into anger. I dropped onto my knees and I picked up the sand and I started throwing it and making shapes out of it, and this turned into anger, and I started saying again ancient prayer. In the meantime, these 2 guys who look after the temple are wailing like babies. I mean, I don't know how old these guys are, they're probably in their 60s, crying their eyes out. This lasted about 5 minutes, and then I walk out and I look at them all, they're crying, and I said, okay, that just happened. I'm like, okay. And the tour guide said to me, the prophecy is coming real. They knew that you would come back. What prophecy are you talking about? And they said, you're Isis. Of course, I didn't accept it, I didn't reject it, I parked it. Because I'm like, okay, whatever. And I had a number of other experiences there, and I've been back twice, and every single time I had more of a memory. Second time I went, I walked back into the same place where I saw Sekhmet. And I went quite early, and this time when they opened the door, there was always a headless statue there, but I never saw it before. I mean, this time when I saw it, I screamed, and I was in shock, and I dropped to my knees. And then I recognised who it was, without a head, and it was like, this was the most... It's got no head. It's a bust with no head, and it was like somebody did that, and it's like somebody bulldozing Mecca. That's how much shock it was. And I was screaming. And then again, an ancient prayer came out, and I touched it, and I did some stuff. And I've had a number of other experiences like that. Now, I then, obviously, during all of this, I've been doing ayahuasca journeys and changa journeys, DMT, and in every single one, and I've been doing some work with groups, and I've worked with over 1,000 people who I as a shaman, and 90% of these people saw me flying around the temples of Egypt and picking up body parts. I had one ceremony where two people from two parts of the world were there, and they didn't know each other, and one of them said, "You're flying around the pyramid, you spoiled us all." And the other girl says, "Yeah, I saw that too." Like literally they're having the same journey. Then this guy says, "There's a massive, you're flying along a river and you're picking up body parts." The girl's laughing, I saw the same. And then there's a party, he says, "There's a massive party, and you know, you're really happy and everyone's happy that you're back," and she says the same. And then I had another ceremony where a guy, there were 6 people, and he was, during his journey, he was looking at me like this as I'm walking up and down the room, and he said, "You were walking through 5 dimensions, and you were Egyptian, and so was everybody else." So I had a lot of ceremonies like that. And then I was told I'm not to do it, and there was a lot of work that was done. I was working, unbeknown to me at the time, with archons and reptiles, people who'd stolen the sacred secrets, and I'd basically taken them back. So there was also a very epic journey that I had where Nibiru was smashing into planet Earth, and I had to move the star constellations so that Nibiru could pass without hitting planet Earth. And I knew all of the constellations and the positions they were in, and I was working mainly with Unicorn, Centaur, Capricorn, and Anubis. So the constellations, that was their names, and I've not studied any of this. You know, as I said, I came into this cold. I never knew anything like that. So it was my ancient knowledge. And I pause sometimes because there's so much, and there's so much that is sacred that I'm not meant to speak of. But there are ancient gods here, and a number of them were in my ceremonies. There are ancient angels and entities that are waking up knowing that they're not from planet Earth, that they were either here to assist or de-assist. Now, all of the experiences I've had during ayahuasca, and I've had a lot, and I believe I'm the oldest soul shaman in the universe. Now, ayahuasca is beautiful. However, I want you to be aware of a number of things. There are other entities that are working. When you take ayahuasca, you are entering certain realms. Some of you will do your self-healing. That's what you're meant to do. And your self-healing, it is part of the greater tapestry of the mission that is happening on Earth, because there is a mission. And what I will say, the kingdom of heaven is on Earth, and it was overtaken, and it was made to be forgotten by those who came in. You can call them the Anunnaki. They weren't gods, they were traitors, and stole, killed, destroyed what they could of what was the kingdom of heaven on Earth. And to make us forget, because they knew that you cannot destroy that which comes back, you know. We reincarnate, we come back, we're always here. But they wanted to make us forget that we reincarnate, that we come back. They wanted to destroy our power. Now, when you do journey with ayahuasca, of course the diet is important. And we are all very different frequencies and energies. We are all frequency and energy. And you will know what is of divine light and what isn't. There are reptiles and greys and archons. Now they have no more power, so they're doing their best to grab onto you as much as they can through your compassion. You don't need to have that anymore. If someone isn't lifted entities, they don't climb up. They will sink back to what they are, and that's not divine light. So, on one of my journeys, this is when I was moving the constellations around, I was in this place again where I was letting go, and I'm drifting through these different layers. And this time I remembered, because you know you don't remember everything when you come out of ayahuasca. And this time I remembered these entities. They were like, shh, playing rattles, like I was this baby asleep. And I'm asleep now, like a baby. And then every time I went to wake up, there's a rattle, shh, shh, and I fall back asleep. And I remembered, oh, this happens a lot on my journeys. I suddenly realised that there were other entities trying to keep me asleep, because I was completely letting go, and I've done that before, and I thought that's what I had to do. And at that point I said, Sofia Hayat is awake, and I woke up. I was actually on the toilet at this point, letting go of crap, thinking I was letting go of the crap of one particular person that was in the room, because I held her hand. I need to hold your hand and let go of the crap. And came back into the room, lay down, and they were saying to me, you are creator, you are number one, you are separate from them. And at that point I went, no I'm not, I'm at one with the children of the earth. And you need to listen to what we say so that you can get what you want. And I said, no, I don't need to listen to you anymore. I know what I'm doing, I am free. And I was laughing at them, and then I understood that basically you've got to be careful during ayahuasca. Yes, you have to surrender to yourself and not to anyone else. But there are entities that can come into your journey that will try and, well, what they do is they try and use your sacred energy to create. So the longer, I mean, I had so many journeys where I met my dad and blah, blah, blah. But parts of the journey, it's like you're going through, I was going through different levels, dimensions, portals, and through some of them there'd be these entities, or if you want to call it entities, which I thought was ayahuasca, which it wasn't. There was a beautiful entity once, and I remember it's almost like I came off a portal, and I'd recognized this old man with a long beard, looked a bit like Merlin, and he was with a woman, and they gave me some information and shone some light into my third eye, and I said yes, and I went forward. And on this particular journey, I ended up asking the lions to line up to the gateway to heaven, and then I opened the doors to the kingdom of heaven. But I got to the point where I'm in a battle with these dark energies that are trying to stop what I was doing. So, and then when I came out of that particular journey where I opened the doors to the kingdom of heaven, I was told, remember Sophia, everything is perfect, everything is clear, everything is perfect, everything is clear. And I got up, and there were these voices saying, throw away your crystals, throw away the ayahuasca. And that night I did. I poured all my ayahuasca that I used in ceremonies down the toilet, and my DMT. And then I said to the person who was there, who's very sacred with me, what do I do with my crystal? And he said, you've got to keep that. But they were telling me to throw it away, and I was meant to keep it. So in the end, they were coming in as I was coming back down to earth. So I'm going to finish this now just to say to you that when you do ayahuasca, first of all, never let anybody take your sexual energy. When you're on your journey, you might meet entities that trick you with their ayahuasca into keeping quiet and to surrender yourself. Never surrender yourself. You only surrender to yourself during your journey, your higher self. Remember that you are number one, that you are important. And once you understand that you are important, then you can go to where you're meant to go, whether it's for deep healing, whether you're a light worker and you're working for humanity. I remember at one point when I had a sword and these two lions shot up from the side of me, and I was battling the dark energies trying to come into earth and destroy her. And I was like, wow, wow. And as soon as I said, wow, I understood that I'm not allowed to, I have to be in that experience and in that moment rather than think about it, because thinking about it would involve my memory, and my mind is not allowed to be involved in this experience. So I wasn't allowed to look at it, I had to be in it, completely present. Which is what I do when I channel, which is one of the gifts that woke up from my past life when I did ayahuasca, that I channel. I'm not involved, my mind's not involved. So when you do ayahuasca, no matter how much you think you trust the people that are holding the ceremony, ultimately trust yourself only. Always, if there's a question, always ask your higher self, because your higher self is the only one you should trust, which is also ayahuasca. There was a girl I know who went to do ayahuasca, and I said to her, if you need me, I'm here for your protection. And she said during her journey, when she was journeying, the shaman, a female shaman, who actually when you meet her is really sweet and beautiful and kind, came up to her when she was having a bit of trouble, and she said at that point you came in dressed in white with your back towards her, protecting me, and I knew she was trying to take something from me. So ayahuasca is beautiful. The way you can protect yourself is by listening to your higher self. Don't listen to any other entity that comes in your journey. I had another group of people that I was working with, and one guy, this is with DMT, we did 5 or 6 journeys each, and he said, he was in a room, there was a bunch of aliens, they had tapes with his name on, but they were really pleasant. And he was happy about it. I said, go back in that room on your next journey, I will take you there, and you tell them no longer do they have access to your information, and walk out. And he did that. And that was the end of that. See, they've been taking information from him for a long time. And because they come across as really nice and unprovocative, you think, oh wow, there's an alien, and they're allowed, look, they're so sweet. But no one's allowed access to your information. No one. Don't let them have access to your information. There are many of you who are using Aya for healing, but there are those of you who are light workers, who are having experiences involving Egyptian gods. Maybe you are one of them, maybe you are a reincarnation, and you've been led on a particular journey. I gave up all my work I've been traveling all over the world, Mexico, India, Rome, Jerusalem, Jordan, Petra, Mecca. I've been to all of these places being guided, and incredible things have happened. I've been activating the feminine energy in Mecca. I've activated all 3 pyramids now. And the kingdom of heaven is on earth, the gates are open, and soon you should all see. Allow yourself to honor yourself so much that if you do ayahuasca, the only person you listen to is yourself, your inner knowing, which is Aya, which is the mother, which is Christ, our son, which is Shiva, which is Allah, which is Buddha, which is me. So, which is ultimately you. So please allow yourself to trust yourself enough, to trust your inner voice and your inner knowing. I'm going to leave it there today. I'm hoping that this video has given you the information that will take you forward into your own awakening, into connecting with me and on my heart level, into connecting with the all, and with you, with me, as I am you and you are me. Let it be known that the truth is here, that you are the light, that you are the truth. Your voice is divine, your command is divine, your love is divine, the light that you are is divine. Bow your head to yourself in the knowing that Creator is you and you are Creator. I love you. Illallah assalamana huwa assalamana li assalamana shi assalamana luna ki assalamana shi assalamana luna innallah shi luna sala innallah